guys, welcome back to the Strong Mom channel, and today we've got a guest with us. Her name is Hannah Ross, and she is a passionate women's health advocate. She is the clinical director and pelvic health physiotherapist at Vital Physiotherapy and Wellness, a women's health and pelvic health physiotherapy clinic in Midtown Toronto. Hannah lives to empower her team, colleagues, and clients by coaching them, mentoring, and educating them to provide excellent care and live the lives of their dreams. Hannah provides prenatal and postpartum physiotherapy as well as rehabilitation for all forms of pelvic pain and dysfunction. She's a sought-after educator and teacher and regularly speaks about pelvic health, prenatal preparation, and the realities of parenthood, and loves to empower clients to take the lead in their health and lifestyle. Most recently, Hannah is using her expertise in the realm of virtual physiotherapy care to coach and empower manual health practitioners on how to provide exceptional virtual care to their clients. So Hannah, I want to thank you so much for coming on today. And I don't think we've actually met in person, but I feel like we know each other already, right?
Same. I'm like,
right? Social media.
We've hung out before.
So not so long ago, you were on I want to call it not a webinar, but it was like this group thing where it was mostly naturopathic doctors talking about gut health. It was a summit, and you were the only pelvic health physiotherapy, which was awesome. And so you were bringing this, perspective from a physiotherapist, but a pelvic health perspective of why our gut health and digestion is so important for, kind of getting over those pelvic dysfunctions that we have. And I want to talk about that today. And I want to talk about why does having an unhealthy gut affect, or how does that unhealthy gut that we have affect pelvic dysfunction? And
I want to talk about poo. Is what you want to do.
We're talking about poo.
Okay, let's do it. Sorry, so I cut you off there. So how does it affect pelvic health dysfunction?
Yeah, exactly. And I want to step back because I know a lot of times people will say, well, my gut's fine. Okay, and if we talk about digestion, yeah, my digestion's fine. And I want to take a step back here because when I was, in school learning about digestion and nutrition, I was like, yeah, my digestion's fine, but we don't really know what that actually encompasses. So for those of you who are watching, we're talking about, do you have excessive flatulence? Do you have a lot of gas, right? If you do, that could be a sign that something's off with your digestion and or gut health. Same thing when it comes to going to the washroom too much, like thinking you got to go number 2 multiple times during the day, or on the flip side, constipation.
Yes.
Right?
And you can go every day and still be constipated.
Sorry, say that again.
You can go every single day and still be constipated.
Wow. Okay. And that's a great point. And so I guess we'll get into that and what your poop should be looking like, right? And then, just gas, burping, excessive kind of gas like that. So tell us, how does that affect our pelvic health?
Okay, are you ready? Let's do this. So there's such a huge relationship between the gut and your pelvic floor and pelvic health conditions as well. So as a pelvic health physio, I treat constipation. If somebody's incontinent, they're leaking urine, one of the first things we do is make sure they're not constipated, because constipation, especially in children, is one of the leading causes of incontinence. There's just only so much room within your pelvis.
Right.
And at the very most basic level, your digestive system, it starts at your stomach, I'm pointing to my mouth and saying stomach, starts at your mouth. Yeah. It ends at your anus. Mm-hmm. And your external anal sphincter is part of the pelvic floor musculature. So right. From a physiological anatomical perspective, the pelvic floor is part of our entire digestive system.
Right.
For people who don't know, what the pelvic floor is, although I'm sure you talk about it all the time.
Yes.
It's a group of muscles at the base of the pelvis, and they have 5 jobs. And one of their jobs is actually to hold in urine, hold in fecal matter, hold in gas when you're not ready to release it, and to actually be able to properly release and easily release when you're sitting on the toilet ready to go.
Right.
So there's a number of pieces around loose stool, which actually some people will think is gas. And so we have people who think they're releasing gas and instead have a bowel movement, or they're incontinent, because the sensation within the anus, it feels like it's gas and ends up being very loose stool.
Right.
But we also have people who uh, can't release stool at all.
Right.
Both of those can be issues with your digestion, English, but also can be issues with the pelvic floor, because if those muscles are not holding in that fecal matter well, you're going to leak. If there's poor nervous system relations, like the brain and the muscles are not connecting well, there's miscommunication. You can release something that you shouldn't be releasing at the time when you want to release. But likewise, if those muscles are just on all day every day, and you're just sitting on the toilet and bearing down and pushing and pushing and pushing, like that's not a digestive issue. That's actually a pelvic floor issue. It's a muscle relaxation issue. Those muscles are just overworking and not allowing stool to be released.
Right.
So basic level, like physiologically, those muscles, it's their job to make sure that things are leaving that need to leave and staying in when they need to stay in.
Exactly. And you know what? It's funny that you mentioned that. I, in my past, had an issue with having to go to the bathroom, number two, like 20 times a day. But thinking like it came with bloating and gas, and thinking I need to go to the bathroom, but it was nothing but gas. And you're right. I'm sitting at my desk, at my office job, holding it because, okay, I can't let it. I got to get to the bathroom and then I can, let it go. So yeah, just holding in, whether that's stool or gas, definitely you've got bearing down on the pelvic floor and the anus, the sphincter there.
Now let's take it a step further for you, because why not? When you're stressed, when you find that you are in like a state, are you the type of person who gets constipated, or are you the type of person who spends the whole time in the bathroom?
I know when I'm very stressed, and it comes out in my rosacea face actually.
Mm.
But I'm like a 2 time a day girl. And so my stress, not that I've noticed, affects my bowel movements. I haven't been stressed in a while, like really stressed. So I haven't put those two things together, but I'll watch out for them.
So that's all to say that your actual, like your nervous system, your body's level of either fight or flight or rest or relax affects your gut as well. We know that our gut is we consider it our second brain, but it has more nerves and neurotransmitters than even our brain. There's a lot of stuff happening. I keep pointing to my belly, but you can't see it on camera, but just use your imagination. Yeah. But when we're in this upregulated state, it actually can have an effect on our bowel movements, and our pelvic floor actually gets direct input from our fight or flight system. So when we're really in like a stressed out, upregulated state, and this doesn't have to be something particularly stressful, like a major life circumstance in your life. Like we live in Toronto, Ontario. Like there was a go, 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 go lifestyle until we had to stop going for a while. But we almost all live in this sort of like human doings versus human being state, like our values and what we're doing, and we're constantly trying to do. That actually takes our whole nervous system and brings it into this fight or flight experience versus a rest and relax and rest and digest experience. So our digestion is affected by that, and so is our pelvic floor. when you're running away from a tiger, our pelvic floor actually gets messages to contract and protect, because when we genuinely were running away from a tiger, it didn't make sense to stop and like tinkle in the woods or
Right.
stop and like have a quickie with your honey. Like that wasn't happening. So
Right.
we just contract our pelvic floor and go. But if we don't address our stress coping skills, and we don't take the time to actually balance out our nervous system, bring on the relaxation response every day, you know, meditation, yoga, breathing, qigong, just being,
Hmm.
um, then what ends up happening is our pelvic floor remains in that stressed out state, which makes it harder for our digestion to work.
Right.
And we're already in a state where we're not in a prime rest and digest system.
Yeah. And you know what? I know why now you asked me if I'm, have been stressed out. I am a type A person. I've got all of these things scheduled out. And, seeing my pelvic health physio 2 years ago, she said, you're a type A person. I can tell. And she was telling, doing an internal exam at the time. She
Yeah.
said, you are more prone
She was
to,
telling you from like, she was back with your knees bent and she was talking to you all.
yes, yes, you are
Correcting
more
you.
prone to hypertonic pelvic floor. So yes, yes, I did need to work on strengthening and endurance in my pelvic floor, but I also needed to work on relaxing my pelvic floor. And ever since then, and learning everything that I know now, and working with my clients in pelvic floor, I will just be driving my car. I'm relaxed, but I will just bring awareness to what's happening up here. And for
Yeah.
whatever reason, I am frowning for no reason. And I know that when I am frowning, I am tight and holding my pelvic floor. I'm not gripping it and doing like a huge Kegel, but I know that I can relax it. So you don't have to be a hugely stressed out mom to be having a stressful or even tight pelvic floor for sure.
Right. Right. And in no way am I saying, well, women just have to relax. Like, no, I am not saying that. But what I am saying is like our system needs balance.
Hmm.
And sometimes like with a lot of clients we'll see like I'm type A. I call myself a recovering perfectionist. Like I tend to attract that kind of client too.
Right.
And I'm not, if I keep sending somebody home and saying you have to just release your pelvic floor, release your pelvic floor, but we're it's almost like a band-aid solution, because if we're continuing to send that input, very very smart input, like our brains are incredible. If
Hmm.
we're in this continuous protect state, we need to address the state of our being, or your pelvic floor is going to remain
Right.
contracted, because it's just responding to all this brilliant network and the protective system that we have.
Hmm.
So there needs to be like a big, almost like a big picture take on all of these things. That's not necessarily go get your nails done and go get a massage, but it's actually how can we integrate um, purposeful relaxation techniques, or evoking the relaxation response every day, so that our gut, our pelvic floor, our brains, our cortisol, like everything is sort of creating some form of balance.
Right, exactly. Yeah, the stress piece is huge. I have a client who has pelvic organ prolapse, and we see each other week by week. And one week I came, and she's like, "Oh, things are so much worse this week." And I said, "Oh, what's happening?" She's like, "My baby is sick, and this is happening, and this is going on." I'm like, "Okay, it's the stress, right?" And she felt
Yeah.
like, "Yeah, I kind of took a step back this week, and things kind of felt like they got worse, and the heaviness and all this." I'm like, "Okay, that sickness with the baby's over. Let's keep progressing." And then, it got better. So yeah, stress definitely can make you feel like you've taken a step back. So that's definitely
Totally.
very important.
And it manifests itself in your symptoms as
Yeah,
well.
right. So
um,
so then what are some ways, like you said, yeah, we focus on relaxing, we focus on these things. What are some ways to increase the health of our gut?
So what we kind of think about things in terms of like pillars of health, right? Like, what are you eating and drinking? Are you moving? Are you sleeping? What are your coping mechanisms? And
Mm,
also, what are your social supports?
right.
So when we're looking at like gut specifically, we can talk about like eating green leafies and tending to try to eat the rainbow and drinking water and trying to avoid caffeine closer to bedtime. But
Right.
we also have to take into account the fact that like um, you need to be sleeping, right?
Mhm.
Like when I wake up for an early flight, there were days when I used to go flying. My stomach was upset the whole rest of the day because I missed out on sleep.
Right.
Right? When I used to study, again, type A, like I was studying, I'd like wake up early and go to sleep late. My stomach was a mess. I was, those things there's no, I don't like to think of us as like, the mind body connection that we're one and the same. And so,
Yeah.
you're mentioning like I was on this naturopathic um,
Summit.
summit. Thank you for English language. I appreciate it. And I always refer to naturopaths for those pieces, but like they were talking about poo, and I'm like, I can talk about poo because there's a lot that we can do from a pelvic health perspective, like
Hmm.
making sure we're breathing every day. Our pelvic floor and our diaphragm, when they're working in synchrony, they actually massage your intestines.
Yeah.
There are external massages we can do, the I love you massage, just to
Yes.
gently start to encourage the gut to move along.
Right.
Things like using the squatty potty or raising your knees
I
when
love it.
you're,
I love the squatty potty.
I want to give it to
Okay.
everybody.
I know. I gave one to my mom and my mother-in-law for Christmas, and they're like, "Ah, thanks. What is this?" I'm like, guys. And you know what's
And then
funny?
3 weeks
Okay.
later, they're probably like, "You changed my
And
life."
it's funny because my mom says, I don't have any problem going to the bathroom. I'm like, me neither. But trust me, when you sit on this, it will just make it easier and faster and like it's all good. So, yes, we definitely have a couple around our house. That said, I remember going to, and I talk about poo a lot with my clients too. So there's the Bristol stool chart. So
Mhm.
tell us, what should our poo be looking like? Because a lot of us, we don't want to talk about this, and a
Yep.
lot of us actually don't know. So can you tell us what should it look like?
So the Bristol stool chart, I wish I had one right in front of me, but I don't. But there's they go through different numbers and different stool types, and it ranges from like the rabbit pellets, like hard small pellets, all
Right.
the way to liquid form. And we
Hmm.
don't want it really to be on your stool to be on either end. What we're
Right.
really looking for is like, I call it like toothpaste, right?
Right.
Like
Yes.
a nice soft little
Exactly. The
S.
S shape.
Exactly. Or like a log, like a not a log of pellets stuck together, but a
Right.
softer grouping to
Right.
happen. That's, we call it type 3 or type 4. On
Hmm.
either side, we're looking on constipation very frequently, or we're looking at issues around poor fluid and food and nutrient uptake. Like there's, on either side, it's an indication that things are probably not functioning well in your gut and from your
Hmm.
musculature.
Right. And when you said you could poop once a day but still be constipated, I'm thinking that's probably people who are pellet poops, right?
Yeah, or even just a smaller type 3. But we really want people to be having um, both kinds of fiber in their diet. So there's soluble fiber and insoluble fiber.
Right.
And the easiest way to get that is to just have like an apple a day. I know
Hmm.
keeps the doctor away, also keeps the poo in the toilet. Like, so
Right.
an apple has both the soluble and insoluble fiber, but
Hmm.
we can't have fiber without water.
Hmm.
A lot of my clients are coming to me like, I'm having fiber one, I'm this and I'm that, and they're not drinking enough fiber, enough water, or they're drinking water in a way where they're like just chugging water and then they're dehydrated. So we almost overwhelm the system with water. It
Right.
creates a stretch reflex in the bladder, and they pee most of it out, and their body doesn't actually utilize it. And
Right.
what that does when you're having fiber and you're not taking in water continuously throughout the day is it actually almost creates cement in your
Hmm.
intestines. So when
Right.
we start to integrate like just sipping water throughout the day and adding in a little bit of fiber, that's when people come in and they're like, oh, I didn't realize I was constipated, right?
Yes.
Because in our mind, constipated means not going to the bathroom for 6 days in a
Right.
row. Not that we're not fully evacuating. And
Mm-hmm.
that's when you start to see like bloating and gas, and that kind of buildup is often tied to, a microbiome, gut microbiome stuff, but also a backup of stool.
Thank you for that. And Hannah, we'll wrap up here. Hannah, can you tell everybody where they can find you?
Yes, I can. You can follow me at Hannah Ross PT on Instagram. You can follow my clinic, Vital Physiotherapy and Wellness, on Instagram, and you can find out more about pelvic health physio, what we do, at vitalphysiotherapy.com.
And last question. Do you only see, because I know you're doing a lot more online now. Are you able to see Canadians, all over every single province and territory?
So within Canada, there's now changed some of the rules where you can get a license to see people interprovincially.
Right.
We are licensed throughout all of Ontario,
Okay.
and we've had a number of clients who want to see us in other provinces, and so we just get in touch with their regulating college and of that province, and it's pretty easy to get. They recognize within the different
Okay, so I guess what I'm asking is, do you see other people in the U.S. or any other country, or just Canada?
Just primarily Ontario and Canada. And in the US, it's complicated. Every single state has its own rules. So some
Okay.
will allow people who are regulated outside of the state to provide therapy within the state. And similar with other countries, some will and some won't.
Got you.
If anybody's interested, get in touch with me, and we can do some research. We are doing so much research on all these points. It's fascinating.
I'm sure, because as I said, I have a lot of American clients. I'm like, yeah, I got some people you could reach out. So hoping that, you could work virtually in some capacity. So
Love it. I love it. Yeah, we
awesome.
can consult.
Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.